Blessings. Today, as you know, we've come to the outskirts of Savatthi town, which is the location of Jetavana Monastery and also nearby Bhuparam Monastery. Jetavana Monastery offered by Anathapindika, Bhuparam offered by Visakha. But this spot on the outskirts of the town is the place where they say the Buddha displayed the Yamaka, Pāṭihāriya, a special occasion that came about mainly because of the success of the Buddha in teaching, spreading his teachings in India. Many kings, important people as well as ordinary people came to have faith in the Buddha. Many became monks and eventually bhikkhunis as well, or just followed the Buddha in their practice. And it was a cause for other leaders of religions and sects to be very jealous of the Buddha. They couldn't match his wisdom, his teaching, his skill, or just the numbers of people who had faith in the Buddha. So they were often finding ways to show their jealousy and get back at the Buddhist monks. And one of them occurred here. There was a mango tree that was old but had very delicious mangoes. And there was one time Venerable Ananda came out with lay people to collect mangoes to make nampana juice. But some of these leaders of other sects said, this mango tree belongs to us, you can't have any, and were very kind of rude and abrasive. And the Buddha saw this as the last straw. He said, it's time for us to show them the Bharami of the Buddha. Just teaching and doing what we normally do isn't enough. Keeping the Vinaya, practicing meditation is not enough. We're going to have to do something special, show some of our psychic ability. As you know, the Buddha normally didn't allow monks to display psychic powers. This was a rule that came about when Venerable Pindula took a challenge to collect a bowl, a very special bowl that was placed on top of a bamboo pole, and he had to float up and get it just to prove that he could, that he had psychic powers. But the Buddha said this is not the way monks should behave, just displaying psychic powers to impress people. So he made a Vinaya rule that we shouldn't. But the Buddha seems to have made an exception in this case, and it was for himself. But before he did anything, he had a meeting of the Sangha and the lay community, brought them all together and discussed the problem of these other religions being jealous and harming the monks and Buddhism. And at first, various monks, bhikkhunis, and laymen, lay women as well, offered to display their psychic ability, and many of them had very great ability that they could have displayed. And they said, well, if we show our psychic powers and we're just the disciples of the Buddha, then these other religions are really going to accept the Buddha as an amazing teacher as he is. But the Buddha said, no, it won't work. These teachers, they're very stubborn, very proud. Even if you guys, the community, display your psychic powers, it won't work. Even Venerable Mahamoggallana offered to display a whole list of psychic things, such as creating the biggest mountain in the world, bigger than Mount Everest, a mountain as big as Sumeru, and then swallowing it whole. There's just one, and many other amazing feats using his psychic ability he offered to do. And the Buddha just said, no, none of these will work. I'll have to do it myself. So they made an appointment, and all the religious leaders of Savatthi came out, and all the people came out to see this amazing feat, as you can imagine. And at the appointed time, the Buddha, he rose into the air and displayed this psychic feat, which is basically impossible for a normal, ordinary person, anyone other than a Buddha. That is to issue forth both fire and water at the same time. it's not impossible for someone to develop jhana, and particularly the 4 rupa jhanas and the 4 arupa jhanas, and develop skill with the elements, the body elements, to the point where they can turn their body into water or their body into fire. But to do the 2 things at the same time is unheard of, other than from a Buddha. And everyone knew that. It's not that these other religious leaders had no skill at all. They did have some skill in meditation, and they would know their own limitations. And they would know they couldn't do that. To issue forth fire first from the front and water from the back, and then swap water from the front, fire from the back, fire from the head, water from the feet, fire from the feet, water from the head. They knew they couldn't do that. They couldn't match that. And then the Buddha floated down and sat in meditation, and he created an image of himself, an exact replica, and made him, the image, do many things: walk chongkrom, sit meditation, lie down, float through the air, and so on. So all the people of Savatthi realized, the Buddha really has a lot more skill than anyone else with his mind. They recognized he really is the teacher, the leading teacher. And even the disciples of many of these other teachers acknowledged that and came to pay respects to the Buddha and said, we're going to follow the Buddha, which of course made some of the other religious leaders very angry. And they just had to go away and deal with their jealousy and stubbornness and sense of pride that was now hurt. And the Buddha said, there's some people in the world you can't teach. They're just too stubborn. Nowadays we'd say their ego is too big. They'll just have to wait until they recognize the suffering of attaching to their own pride. So that's what this mound marks. I think they built later on they built a stupa here. But they say after this event, King Pasenadi of Kosala, the king, this is the Kosala kingdom, and Pasenadi made this like a little park, and the mango tree became protected, and all Buddhist monks were welcome to come and receive mangoes here. So that's where we are today, and now we can just meditate for a little bit longer.